This group has changed my life. Have you ever had somebody in your small group, in your house church, in your church say that? It's a wonderful thing. And you know, if you do the right stuff, you get to hear that all the time. I'm Dave Early, and we're going to be talking about small groups. We're going to be talking about house churches for the rest of this week. And I think you're going to find some things that will really make your group, make your house church, make your church more effective as it becomes more healthy. My story is this. When I was almost 17 years old, I got saved. 6 weeks later, I was leading a Bible study in a public school. Now, my Bible study had one other person in it, so I began to invite people. I began to contact the people that came. I began to pray for the group, and I began to change the dynamics inside the group so that God was moving in a powerful way every day when that Bible study met. And by the end of the year, we'd gone from 2 people to 15 people, to the next year, 25 people, and so on. I've been leading small groups ever since. A couple years ago, I began to write down what is it that happens outside the group that makes it grow and multiply, and what is it that happens inside the group meeting that makes it grow and healthy and multiply. And that's what we're going to talk about this week. We're going to talk about becoming a healthy small group, a healthy church, a healthy house church. And there are 5 dynamics that if you understand these, and these happen every week in your group, you'll find your group becomes more healthy, more alive, more dynamic, more attractive. It becomes a more powerful, life-transforming group. And the wonderful thing is these are all super simple. You know all of them, but I need to remind you to put these into practice. The first is welcome. Everybody should get welcome on their way in. They get greeted on their way in. They get go through an icebreaker where everybody gets to talk. Everybody should get appropriate touch on the way in, whether in your culture it's a handshake or a hug or whatever is appropriate. You need to love one another. People need to feel like this is a group where we love one another. This is the one place in my life there are people who know my name, people who know my situation, people who pray for me, people who care about me. The group needs to have a welcoming spirit. It needs to be a group that loves one another. The second thing is worship. You not only reach sideways to one another, but you reach upward to God. Whether you've got musical worship that invites the presence of God, or whether you have a non-musical worship where through thanksgiving prayers or praise prayers. And I have a group we don't do music. Nobody's musical in my group. We have about 20 people every week. We go around every week. Every single person says a sentence of, God, I want to thank you this week for. Or they'll say a sentence of, God, you are awesome because. We're inviting the presence of God as we exalt God in worship. The third word is word. Obviously, you need to study the Bible. It's the Bible that changes people's lives. Now, understand this. So many groups are just about the word, and they miss these other dynamics. The word is important, but it's especially important if you do it right. You need to study the Bible, but you also need to discuss it. People need to think and talk about how it's going to relate to their life, their situation, and then apply it. Truth doesn't change lives by itself. Truth changes lives when it's applied in people's lives. Information without application leads to spiritual delusion that people are more spiritual than they really are. It's application that changes their lives. So you've got welcome, you've got worship, you've got the word. That's the center of the group. That's the main part. But you also have works. You talk about how to minister to each other, or you actively minister to each other. In my group, we talk about who's bringing the food next week. We talk about somebody in the group who's sick and that we can pray for, or somebody we can visit, or we take up an offering. We have a lady in our group whose house burnt down. We took up an offering to help pay for her situation. The other way we do the works of God and minister to each other is we pray for each other. We get in groups of 2 or 3 and we pray for each person. They get prayed for by name, by need, by one other person. We do the works of God. And then we witness. Now, that can be different in different situations, but we talk about and we pray about reaching the lost. The question is this: who are you working on? Who are you praying for? Who are you inviting? Who are you sharing your testimony with? Who can you invite to this group? We remind people the group's always open. Everybody, guests are always welcome. Who are you inviting? If you want to have a healthy group, I encourage you, make an agenda and have these things as a part of every meeting. Every time you're together, these are happening in one way, shape, or form, and you'll find that that group has more life, more energy, more commitment, more life transformation, because God is using that group as a healthy group to change people's lives. This is Dave Early. If you like practical teaching like this, we're on YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel. We're on Facebook. You can follow us. We want to see you as we continue this week to talk about becoming a healthy group.